What's up? What's up? What's up, everyone? We have another episode of Community During Chaos today. Episode 23. We are almost at 25, which then I'm putting a cut, and I'll see you next season. 25 episodes would be 75 people that I've spoken to in 25 consecutive weeks. So tonight we have Thomas Iannucci, all the way from Hawaii. We have Floodlight Forever, which was previously Davis Absolute, and then closing out the night we have 1K Phew. So I'm very excited to talk to these brothers right now, and let's not wait anymore. Let's jump right into this, and let's go live with Thomas. Aloha.
Aloha, my brother. How are you, bro?
Good, man. What's up? From the car.
From the car, bro. I am. Check this. Real quick. I'm on the shoot of a music video right now, so I had to hop inside.
Oh man,
I'm in nature. Look at this.
Let's see.
All right, so you see they're doing their thing, but we are out in the wilderness, bro.
Nice.
You know, as far as I can see, just fields and greenery and stuff. Hawaii action. So I had to
You're
hop
in a
the car
volcano?
real quick. Not quite, but you can see a dormant one down. I don't know if you can see it from here. Down that way.
Dope, man. Nice. Well,
it's a little bit better inside the car.
yeah, man. Thanks for breaking up the music video to chat with me. I appreciate that.
Of course.
We're not going to keep you too long that you're going to lose your daylight, and then you're going to have inconsistencies.
Right.
Like what happened? What happened to the light?
Suddenly dark in the scene.
All right, man. So you know the drill. But for everyone else tuning in, this is Thomas Iannucci, Rapzilla freshman this year.
Rapzilla freshman. Feels so good to hear it.
Two-time. Oh man, I memorized the name for that news thing I did, but I can't say it again. Two-time what?
Nahoku Hano Hano Award winner, Hawaiian Grammy.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I wasn't gonna try to say it. I got it right the one time I needed to say it.
You did. You got it great, man.
It was about 3 takes. I'll tell you that much. But yeah. So for everyone tuning in, this is Thomas, and this is Community During Chaos, where I speak to 3 different creatives in our space every single week to talk about how we've navigated through 2020, through this craziness from COVID to the elections to social injustice to like what the heck have we been doing? How can we be positive during these negative times? How could we be leaders, etc.? So this is episode 23. We are almost at the end of this season. I'm calling it. So Thomas,
by the way, bro.
Thank you, man.
Before anything else,
appreciate it.
Avidly following it. You're killing it, bro. I really love what you've been doing, man. I admire it.
Yeah, man. I've been killing it so long that 10 minutes before I got on here, I remembered. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do the show tonight. I totally forgot. I was just chilling. And I'm like, man, I think it's time. It's coming up for a break because I'm just losing it. So, all right, man. So 2020, all this craziness was happening. How have you gotten through it, and what have you leaned on? Just give us the rundown of your year.
Sure. Okay, so it has been an interesting year. A lot of ups and downs. Bro, I kid you not, like probably like a week before COVID. Not before COVID got serious, but before, because you know we never really understood at first, right? So before things got real, I proposed to my girlfriend, my now fiance. Things are looking great. Yeah, thank you very much. Very excited at the time. Still excited, but a little more tempered now. You know, we had all these great plans and stuff, and then a week or two after, you know, everything got real serious. And it's been a lot of that. Really high highs, really low lows. You know, yeah, I did get engaged. We are going to get married at the end of the year, but that wedding got canceled on and off and on and off and on and off. So it's a much smaller, you know, and a much more stressful process than we anticipated. You know, finished an album and the EP and a bunch of singles and stuff, you know, so that album is out right now. We're doing the Kickstarter. Link in my bio, by the way. You know, so in one sense, dude, very creative time for me, you know, being locked locked in, and Hawaii has crazy lockdown restrictions. Like they brought the military in, and they've been here pretty much ever since.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. Like the kind, like if you come like on vacation and you break I think it's a 1 or 2 week quarantine, the military comes, they grab you, they ship you back to the mainland. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty nuts. And if you're from here and you break it, they arrest you and you go to jail. It's super strict.
Dang.
Yeah, but on the other hand, we have like crazy low rates, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Kind of like a New Zealand situation, sort of. Although they would
Yeah.
pay us
Yeah.
less. But so it was a very tense time, and it was very surreal. Just seeing military convoys, driving around. You couldn't go out. They finally shut down the curfew, but we were under curfew for a really long time.
Hmm.
A lot of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of tension, uncertainty. We did have to part ways with my family restaurant. After many years of, how it goes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Hawaii is very dependent on tourism. The economy is dying right now.
Hmm.
So while they've done a good job in the sense of keeping us safe, businesses are shutting down left and right over here. Most of our business is dependent on tourism. It sparked a lot of conversation of what we can do differently in the future to maybe not be so dependent on that, because
Hmm.
a lot of excuse me, a lot of classic institutions, restaurants, businesses, those sorts of things, they're gone forever. The only movie theater on the island is gone. A lot of that kind of stuff. So it's been a year of loss. But we did lose a few, people that I know personally, some loved ones to COVID and that sort of thing. And
Man.
bro, I think I might have had COVID, but I don't have healthcare. I lost it when the restaurant shut down. So I
Man.
just self quarantined for like 6 weeks. I just didn't leave the house. So a lot of that kind of stuff. But on the other
Yeah.
hand, a lot of times when you're in kind of a little bit harder spot, a lot of the most beautiful creativity comes out of that.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it's kind of a thing like that, a lot of productivity, because I just didn't have anything else to do at that time. So it's been a mixed bag, bro. I can't say that I would never say it was all good, but I couldn't say it's all bad either. The Lord gets us through
Right.
one day at a time.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. I sounds like an absolutely crazy year for you. Before I ask you the next question, it's funny
Sure.
that you said your wedding is moved and whatever. I had like 6 or 7 weddings for this fall,
No
and
way.
they were all canceled except for one that wasn't originally scheduled. I guess my friend was like, let's squeeze it in. Everything's
Right.
probably super cheap. And it's in
Right, right,
two
right.
weeks. But I saved a lot of money this
I
fall
know. I
from like
know.
5 or 6 ways. I was supposed to be in one of them too.
That's
So,
crazy.
but anyway, you spoke about kind of this up and down struggle of yourself this year. But what most people don't know, and I know this isn't just some knowledge that I have. I've
Yeah.
spoken to Thomas before. I
Yeah.
just looked around as if like, there was an audience. Like, all right, guys.
Yeah, people.
But I've spoken to Thomas, and Hawaii is perceived as this paradise,
Yeah.
but really it's kind of only a paradise for the people who are coming there to vacation. But for the
Yeah.
people who are there, it's a totally different story, landscape, climate. So can you maybe open that up a little
Yeah.
bit?
Yeah. Thank you, man. And thank you for the opportunity to talk about that, because, as you know, it is something very, near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's something that was in stark contrast during this time. So in Hawaii, the cost of living is some of the most expensive in the nation. I think it's
Hmm.
like LA, New York City, Hawaii, and like maybe like DC area
San
or something like that,
Francisco. Yeah,
or San Francisco. Yeah, stuff like that.
yeah.
So it's like in the top 0.1 percentile, whatever. And in order to survive here, like to actually live, you got to have minimum 2 jobs, unless you
Hmm.
got like a really, really, really great job. But usually it's like 2 or 3 or sometimes even 4 jobs, and you're kind of just getting by. If you have a family, you know what I mean. If you're single, of course, maybe you can get by with 2 jobs. Um, and so you have this kind of economy, right, which I kind of touched on a little bit as well, where it's like everything's dependent on tourism.
Hmm.
So to give a little context, the Kingdom of Hawaii was overthrown by American business people in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And that kind of socio-ethnic political dynamic is still in play today, right? Where you have local people, like Hawaiians and local people, born and raised in Hawaii, are kind of subsisting on and subservient almost to these kind of like tourist white elite class kind of thing. So there's a lot of tension in that way, where it's like a lot of people who come here are fantastic people, very well meaning, but
Yeah.
when there's generations and generations of like, I work at a restaurant, for example. Well, I did. Our family owned a restaurant. And a lot of times it feels like you're kind of having to kiss some butt, in order to get a tip and that kind of thing. And okay, I don't like that. I'll go work at a hotel instead. Same thing. Almost everything in Hawaii is service-based industry, so it's always like,
Yeah.
hi, yeah. How can I help you? And a lot of people who come here on vacation are kind of entitled. And I'm not trying to get into like laying blame, but it just kind of is what it is. They expect to be waited on. They expect things to be a
Yeah.
certain way. And, it's a very strong imbalance of power. So this sort of simmering resentment, these tourists are not here for very long. There are some people who own land here and they segregate themselves, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they kind of price us out of the nicer neighborhoods, and we kind of all get segregated, and it's gentrification, right?
Yeah.
But what happens is usually there are the poorer white people who move here and are usually pretty nice, who come here and get beat up a lot, right? Because they're the only people who we can lash out at, or people like myself, right? Like I'm mixed race, like, guys like you and me, right? We're, white and Puerto Rican, white and Filipino, right? But we pull more
Yeah.
of the white side, and, we call that hapa here, right? Half, half. But we're the only people who even look like the people that are resented. So a lot of times the Hoppa kids will get a lot of those butt kickings and a lot of that resentment and animosity and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And there's really nothing that's been done to kind of address this in terms of, okay, there is a big problem here. How do we get less dependent on the government? Because so much welfare programs, there's so much, and we all work for state jobs. I work
Mm-hmm.
part-time at the college at the state job, Perfect example. I work part-time at the college. It's a state job. And then I work
Mm-hmm.
in the food service industry. Those are the only two jobs really in Hawaii for the
Yeah,
most
and you
part.
think if you work,
Yeah,
most people, I guess, in to use your term of mainland, I've
right.
never used that before. Um, when you say you have a job with the state, that's like, oh, it's a really good job. Like that's your job. You're set.
Right,
Like
right,
like my wife works for New York State,
right,
but for people in Hawaii, like you work for the state, and you have to work for a restaurant. Like you have to do some sort of service to survive.
right. And that's kind of the thing. It's like you get a state job, and that is a great job relative to the alternative, but
Right.
you probably need something else to supplement that state job.
Wow.
Which is pretty nice to think about. Or if you're lucky and you can kind of just put in those years and get to a
Mm-hmm.
point where you're kind of up there, and then yeah, that can be your primary thing. But if you're kind of like just getting a new job, it can be pretty tough, Brian. And so that resentment and that feeling of being trapped and that hopelessness manifests itself in a lot of different ways. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of racial tension in Hawaii. There's a lot of I had all these facts before. I could be wrong, but I believe in the last decade, the suicide rate in Hawaii has doubled. Something to that effect. It was a
Mm-hmm.
big, big number.
Yeah.
You see also like, the drug use in Hawaii is getting out of control. We have been able to get the meth epidemic a little bit. At one point, we were like the meth capital of America. Um,
Wow.
yeah, we have kind of like curbed that a lot. Thank you, Jesus. But it's still a problem here, depending on your socioeconomic level between meth, cocaine, a lot of weed smoking, heroin is
Yeah.
becoming a big problem right now. People
Whatever you
are
could afford, kind of
whatever you can
like
afford.
whatever
Yep,
level you're at.
whatever level you're at, exactly. A big thing right now is people are smoking heroin. It's crazy because it doesn't leave
Jeez.
track marks. It doesn't leave track marks, and
So you can't get in trouble.
you
Like
can't get
there's
in trouble.
nothing visible.
Exactly. And they're having a lot of drug epidemics right now at the middle schools on Kauai, at least. So I've been kind of
Wow.
going down to talk to the kids a little bit, when I can, once in a while, and just kind of be a positive example of a local person who still lives here, because that's another thing. As we're kind of pressured out because we can't afford land over here, because now land is like, so a perfect example of the kind of predatory nature, right, of how the system works. So everyone is losing, jobs, losing businesses. A lot of people are selling they're selling their houses and their property, right? But land prices are still super high because so many people from the mainland are snapping up more land right now
Mhm.
from local people. So if I was like in a better financial position and I was like, hey, maybe now is a good time. Maybe I'm in a good position and I want to buy a house right now while the economy's down. Couldn't afford it because the average local person doesn't have the kind of money to pay Hawaii land prices, and land that's passed down from generations is usually
Mhm.
split up and sold off, between the siblings and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you see all these people from the mainland, usually rich white people, they come and they're buying up land like crazy right now. Mark Zuckerberg has a crazy property over here, just like
Wow.
massive. I was just nearby, and it sucks. Like he's blocking off beaches. You can't get access. All this kind of stuff. He's slowly taking over more and more, and all these places that you grew up at are becoming less and less available. I remember I grew up in not not a great area, right by the low income housing area. It was a lot of drugs, a lot of violence, and stuff like that. Um, but even from police were there every other night, kind of a deal. But even from when I was a kid to now, where they're doing like even more housing development, but it's all lower income kind of things. It's getting worse and worse. You know what I mean? The crime rate is going up, and that sort of thing. And it's very unfortunate that it's kind of set up this way. There's a lot of corruption within the local government here, where if they can profit off of things. Um, so, for example, right, how the law was originally written is that if you're a developer in Hawaii and you're going to develop land for condos or some sort of tourist kind of thing, right? They make them
Hmm.
really nice. There's some beautiful places, right? So they buy prime property and they develop it. The law says that you have to allocate some of that land and some of those houses um, for local people, for whether it's Native Hawaiians or just local people in general, right? So you can have
Yeah. Yeah.
like the rich area, and you can still have local people living in that nice area. But there's this loophole that says if you buy two plots of land in two different parts of the island, you can designate the other one for the kind of crappy, the place where all the locals can live. So what's been happening is, like the place where I grew up, like a lot of these places, they'll buy a nice property and then they'll buy a bunch of property in a junk part of the island and say, oh, this is going to be the low income housing development for local people. So it just keeps
Wow.
segregating the island more and more. Why don't they
Yeah.
stop that? Well, there's a lot of kickbacks that kind of can sweeten the deal for people in government and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of simmering resentment. And then you see, so we're so dependent on these people and on tourism. And then when an epidemic or something happens, the entire economy collapses. So it's not a tenable situation either way.
Now let me ask you this, because you keep saying like the island. So I know Hawaii
Mm-hmm.
is a couple of islands. Is this the
Sure.
same deal on all of the islands or just specifically where you're at?
On all of the islands to varying degrees. I know it's a little bit different on Oahu because so much of the land's already been bought and developed.
Oahu's like the big one, right? The
Yeah,
main one.
that's the capital. That's Honolulu.
Yeah.
And that's crazy because I think you have something like 1 million people living on that island, not counting, 5 to 800,000 tourists at any given time.
Yeah.
So you have between 1.5 to, I don't know, 2 million people on a tiny island, so that's a very cramped place itself. It's like LA on an island, it's Honolulu. Honolulu and LA rotate every couple of years for worst traffic in the nation. Like, that's crazy. I remember living over there. It was miserable.
Hey man, you've been to New York City. It's kind of like that. I mean,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Manhattan is an island. You look at the map, it's like this
Yes,
little sliver,
yes,
and there's like 6 million people live there plus
yes,
tourists.
That's exactly
Um,
right. It's like a smaller version of New York City. Yeah.
and where I'm at, Staten Island, which is technically part of New York City, is only a 20 by 15 mile island. And we have 600,000 people that live there. And we're spacious.
Whoa.
Like we have trees, we have parks, we have deer. Like I could go
Yeah,
play
yeah,
baseball in a
yeah.
field. You can't do that in Manhattan,
Yeah.
or some parts of Brooklyn. But
Right,
yeah,
right,
man,
right.
I get you got to live on an island like I do. Nobody visits us, and everybody here hates everybody who comes here that says go away. Like there's no service here. It's
Oh
like
my
no,
God.
just leave.
Right.
Um,
Well, that's my dad is from Long Island. So he always
okay.
says the same thing. He says, I'm an island boy. It's just a bigger island,
It's a way that's a 2 or 3 hour drive. That's why it's Long Island. It just
Mm,
takes forever to
hmm.
get through it. And they got like farms there too. They're almost
Man.
basically like they're like another country. Like just from going to Staten Island to Long Island, it's like who are
Yeah,
these
yeah, yeah,
people?
yeah, yeah.
These are New Yorkers.
Dude, I
Um,
know. It's hilarious.
yeah, it's crazy. So let me ask you something real quick because we
Yeah,
only
yeah.
have like a couple of minutes left.
Don't worry.
How did the whole race and protesting
Hmm.
thing affect
Hmm.
Hawaii, because
Sure.
Hawaii itself is so diverse,
Sure.
with the native people and Samoans, and you have Japanese and Filipino and white people. So how
Yeah.
do things like that,
Yeah.
impact?
It's it started a really big dialogue in terms of how can I put this? So we don't have as many African American people in Hawaii, right?
Mhm.
So part of the issue there is on Oahu, but the outer islands at least not so much. So part of the issue on our end for people who are like trying to support, right, is apathy because we're in the middle of the Pacific, right? So it's very easy to just be like, "Wow, that sucks," and just go along with your day, right? So
Mhm.
so part of that group, there was some apathy, and then the other half were the people who really, really, really cared because they're like, I have been like this. I've been through this. It reminds me somewhat of the situation with white people and minorities here, a little bit different. But and so the big the big fight was not there's nobody here who's like, black lives don't matter. Like you're not gonna find that here. I know it gets kind of crazy on the mainland. But fighting the apathy was kind of the big thing and explaining like why this matters to us. You know what I'm saying? It's like, listen, if it can happen to black people, right? It can happen to any minority. It can happen
Mhm.
to anybody. It can be it can be us next. There are a lot of ways in which black people have had solidarity with Hawaii for a long time. If you look at the writings of Martin Luther King, right? He viewed Hawaii, and I don't know why people don't talk about this, but he viewed Hawaii as like the potential for America.
Really?
Yes, yes. There's some
I'm gonna look
famous
that up.
pictures of
That's
him.
interesting.
It's
Yeah.
very interesting. There's pictures of him with the flower leis. Hawaii was sending him leis during the civil rights march movements and that sort of thing to support. And he kind of viewed Hawaii as like the blueprint. Although, of course, we have so much more work to do. But so reminding people that this is still our fight too, because equality for one is equality for all. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
having those dialogues and reminding people of the connection between African Americans and Hawaii going back. And it yielded some very positive results. There's so much more work to do. Uh, there's so much more issues. Like I don't know how to explain this, but people are self-focused, selfish. You know what I mean? Things that don't directly apply to them sometimes it's just hard for them to see it another way. But
Mhm.
having the individual conversations, like chopping it up and being like, "Hey, listen, this is why you should care." Our black brothers and sisters are. You might not see it here, and there
Mhm.
is racism even here. That's the thing. If you're black, you can still catch it here. But it's just less open than perhaps you'd see on the mainland, right? But just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not real,
Of
and it's
course.
very
Yeah.
important. And so that was kind of the thing, like that was very positive, was bringing something out that had kind of just not really been on people's radar, going to those
Mhm.
protests, sparking those conversations, those dialogues. So it's been a very powerful and awareness raising time, I think, over here.
That's dope, man. Yeah, I wish we can continue this conversation a little further,
Totally
but
understand.
I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
I have a hunch.
Oh yeah.
So man, drop a quick plug. Where can everyone find you, follow you, listen to your music?
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
go ahead.
Thomas Iannucci. Thomas Iannucci. You can follow me at Thomas Iannucci on Instagram, at Thomas Iannucci _ on Twitter. And right now, I'm got my new album, Doubting Thomas, available only on my Kickstarter, which you can find at the link in my bio on Instagram if you just follow this profile. So thank you so much for your time, man. I'm happy to be a part of this.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. Go finish that music video because
We're
I'm
on it
sure
right now.
I'm sure we'll see it soon, and I'll talk to you later, bro. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. All right, let's go to Floodlight Forever. Let's keep this thing moving. That was so interesting what he was saying about Hawaii, Martin Luther King. So I'm definitely going to look that up. Oh man, look at you.
Hello, Justin.
Where are you, on Venus?
Nah, man, this is just a normal day in my life.
This is actually what I see.
I was gonna go to sleep, and then I thought I'd invite you into my world.
Man, I don't know, man. This is trippy. This is looking like 60s. This is what I imagine the Beatles were seeing in their eyes when they were recording some of their albums.
It may have been, and it also may have just been their child's Starlight, $24.99 on Amazon.
I feel that. Listen, man, I so want to call you Davis very badly.
I know you do.
But this is Floodlight Forever, FLF, formerly known as Davis Absolute. And I'm so happy to have him right in front of me in person. And we're going to talk about some good stuff.
I'm so humbled.
Man. I can't see your eyes, so I don't know if you're lying. My friend, what is going on? Tell us about your 2020 and how you've been able to get through this year.
Yeah, man, God's been moving in a crazy way, and it's been a huge blessing. But probably the biggest thing, at the beginning of the year, we had our son. We were expecting to have him at the end of the year, but in January, our son was born, and we were kind of quarantining anyways. In Mexican families, it's called cuarentena, where you stay inside with the baby for like 2 months because, disease and all that stuff is out there. So by the time March rolls around, quarantine hits us, and we're in California. So California gets hit pretty hard, and everything gets shut down. And, praise the Lord, I'm able to work from home. But then we started seeing all this stuff happen. And I've been and I'm already kind of like a conspiracy theorist. I watch like The World and stuff. And I was telling my wife, I was like, you see what's happening in China? It's going to get here. This disease, whatever it is going to get here. We should prepare. So we bought a bunch of food from Costco and just locked down and saved a lot of money from not eating out. But that was for about, 5 or 6 weeks. And then, but aside from that, man, God's been really blessing us in this quarantine. And, despite a lot of the craziness going on, I think we have been in a very great position to grow as a family and to experience our child and have more time with our son. And it's been a blessing in a lot of ways, man. I know that's weird to say, but 2020 it's been a year for growth for sure.
Yeah, man, I feel that. I mean, my son was born last year in September, but it was kind of like once quarantine hit, it's like he was just inside. He was only 5-6 months old. Nobody ever saw this kid.
Yeah.
Like, I had a few family members that saw him when he was like, a month or two old. And then nobody saw him, and all of a sudden he's a year old. And it's like, oh, who's this like big boy that you have? Who's this 1-year-old kid that you have?
I don't want to drag my parents, but they barely have seen him, and they're like, we're not coming to California because of Corona. I'm like, man, he's gonna be a teenager. He's gonna be driving down to see you if y'all come.
Those legendary grandparents you have. But yeah, man, I get it. Just hunkering down, being in New York City. So like you're in San Diego, I'm in New York City, two major cities on each coast that were affected heavy. I know LA was probably affected more than San Diego, but
San Diego we were we were like one of the better cities to actually survive it and follow the rules. But LA for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, close enough proximity.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So as someone you mentioned, like you don't necessarily go with the flow. You're ready to have those conspiracy theories. So how do you pick your battles and like what you want to talk about in those conversations that you have on your platform?
Yeah, man.
Because I know some stuff gets people heated, some stuff gets people thinking. So like, do you have a sort of approach, or you just go?
for better or worse, I kind of just say what I'm thinking. And
Mhm.
I've come to realize that, like, I heard a quote that Twitter is kind of like the place where everybody you don't like or doesn't like you has your phone number, and they can just text you. No, but honestly, man, I just kind of say what I feel, and I'm not always right. And there's been a few times I've had to eat my words and bite my tongue really bad, where I've said totally stupid things or done something that's completely, wrong objectively. I shouldn't have done. But
Mhm.
I think I think when the dialogue is happening and there's people who are polarized on both sides, so extreme, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Maybe leaning
Absolutely.
one side or another. But when you see people so polarized, I just try to like offer a conversation to be like, okay, well, have we considered this? Whether you're Trump or Biden, have we considered this? Whether you're Black Lives Matter or anti-Black Lives Matter, have we considered this? And I think that's an important. I think it's a Christ-like approach because he saw between the lines. He didn't polarize. He saw people for who they are, and I think we really need to do that as Christians as well.
Yeah, man, I feel that that's my favorite line to give to people. I always say to people, I know you feel strongly about this, and I know the person you're arguing with feels strongly about that, but the truth is probably somewhere here. And you're here and they're there, and the truth is probably somewhere here. And I think that's probably the journalist in me,
For
just
sure.
that
Yeah, yeah.
classically. I know they get a bad rap now, and everything is like destroy the media, kill the fake news. But listen, I'm an entertainment and music journalist, so I don't need to dabble in politics and pick sides
Yeah.
without like having to listen. I'm just trying to tell a good story, and I'm trying to get the facts, and I
Yeah.
need to speak to all these people to gather that information and come up with, an unbiased opinion.
And
And that's
art
very much
art will
me.
kind of like connect that too. Music will kind
Yeah.
of bridge a gap between two people who are polar opposites.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have Lecrae fans who will, slap a Biden supporter, and you'll have Lecrae fans who would fight a Trump supporter. But somehow his music can serve as a bridge through that. So
Yeah.
it's a very unique medium.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's, one of the reasons why I like having these conversations every Monday. As I said, it's going to be in 2 weeks, it's going to be 75 different people that I've spoken to. And that's 75 different people whose shoes I was able to walk in, and just get an understanding of where they're at in this current social climate of everything that's been going on. That's
Yeah.
75 different takes on, COVID, on, the protesting, what happened with George Floyd, on the elections, on how to just survive and be a leader. And some people are going to be right. Some people are going to be wrong, but most people are just doing the best they can. And they're just in that middle lane. You take a little bit from everybody and you apply, what seems effective to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely like these tough conversations and these tough questions for sure.
Yeah. When you have a community too, people can check you. A lot of people don't appreciate that, and that's something that I'm very open to. If somebody is out of line or somebody's voicing an opinion that is damaging, we should have accountability to be able to check one another privately and be like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
this is not going to be, if you want to reflect Christ and you want to reflect this community, we can't handle it this way.
Yeah. Somebody in the comments said it's contradictory to act unbiased, but display something completely different. I agree. Absolutely. I agree. So for you, I know a big topic of this year and everything that's been going on is race, and then you're dealing with presidents who, or whether it's Trump or it's Biden, and you have people on each side calling the other one a racist. Um, we all know, regardless of who's president, that there is a race problem or whatever. Now, someone yourself, you are biracial. So how do these and your kids are biracial and they haven't even
Good
actually
point.
they're triracial,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They have another element into the mix. So what's that like sort of for you living through that dynamic of black and white, now your children black, white, Mexican?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, man. And I think biracial people don't really get a chance to speak on certain things in the way they'd
Mm-hmm.
like to. For me, growing up, I definitely saw how my father was treated differently than my mother. My dad's black, my mom's white, and the dynamics of that. And growing up, knowing that my father had grown up in the South, he's 75 years old. He grew up in Georgia at the height of racism. He experienced segregation. He experienced
Yeah.
white only, black only bathrooms and water fountains. So when I look at like his life, and even though he might have experienced that young, that racism still persisted. Anyways, that's all to say. When I see race issues in the country, I really try to look at it from a scope of like, yes, there's racism, but I think people who are on the opposite sides of the aisle politically all want the same thing. I follow a lot of left-leaning pundits, right-leaning pundits, and when the George Floyd thing happened, I saw nobody being like, wow, this was justified. What happened was a justified thing. Everybody was outraged. And I
That
think
was like a first time thing too. The way everybody was just kind of like, hey, wait a second, this is messed up.
absolutely. And you have with Breonna Taylor, Rand Paul, for example, he's a Republican, staunch Republican, white guy, introducing a bill that would remove no-knock warrants. So you see this bipartisan, both sides of the aisle, people connecting on these issues, these key issues. But I think people become so polarized politically, and when and not to get, I'm not taking a side, I'm not taking a stance, but when you look at someone like Trump, who's had the largest minority vote in the last 40 years for this most recent election, when people are calling supporters of his racist, or when people are saying Biden is saying you ain't black if you don't vote for me and all this stuff, and they're calling them racist, it just adds fuel to a fire that maybe we could be unified on, and a fight that maybe we could join together on a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we've learned anything about this year, is the resilience of people despite crazy circumstances to actually work together and try to do something, whether it have been from the protesting and kind of locking arms, or the people who actually cooperated with COVID causes and were like, hey, maybe there's something going on. Let's actually try this. No, it kind of reminded me at the brief period, couple of months after 9/11, when everyone was like super patriotic and everyone was like, hey, we had a major tragedy. Let's all lock arms. It doesn't matter who you are. We're going to get through this together. And that's how we should be acting. But so much of it gets, as you were saying, thrown into a political ideology. Like you have to believe in this or follow this person. And then that takes away what the actual true America that everyone is fighting towards is.
And when you couple it too with job loss,
Mm-hmm.
economic depression,
Mm-hmm.
sickness, death, pandemic, when you couple all those into this sort of like I don't know what to call, like just a pot. You're just putting it all into this pot. It's going to boil over. These issues, these catalysts that are setting it off, whether it's police brutality or an unjustified killing, that is going to ignite something in an extreme way. Especially when people are out of work, man, and they got people dying around them that they love, and people are getting sick, and there's lockdowns, and you can't leave the house. People lose their mind a little bit, and things
Mm-hmm.
that maybe weren't outside of like police brutality. I'm not saying that, but maybe things that weren't as important to them politically or social economically now become like their main focus, and they become entrenched in it because the other guy is tearing me down. This enemy is preventing me from having
Right.
the happiness that I'm looking for, which is a good reminder for Christians that we need to root ourselves in Christ and really, really connect with the core of why we're on this earth.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel it. Let's switch gears a bit. I want to ask you this because it's still with the theme of community during chaos, because we're very much part of a CHH community. So for you as an entrepreneur in this creative space, like what's some advice that you can give to others looking from this rough economy, from, COVID related complications? Like you're somebody who pretty much works for yourself, or at least has a side hustle that could support yourself. Plus you do music. So how have you been able to kind of magnify or better your efforts despite this around you?
Yeah, all glory to God, man. I couldn't have done it without him, obviously, and just a lot of faith and prayer. I think it's an important level to set. Entrench yourself in prayer every day. Commit yourself to studying the Word of God every day. Commit your family to that. If I was to take that and apply it in a practical way as well, there is so much information out there that you can learn. And I've literally pivoted my career 3 different times from stuff that I've learned online or doing
Mm-hmm.
as a side hustle. So I'd probably say work with everybody that you can with a skill set you want to develop. once you have that skill set developed, try and find small projects and jobs that you can get experience from, update your resume, your LinkedIn profile, whatever you need to do. And then also build up a lucrative side hustle, like you were saying, where you can have another stream of income aside from your main source of income. I have 2 kids, I have a wife. They are very, serious about having time with me. And I'm still able to build my side hustle because if you cut out Netflix, if you cut out Amazon Prime, if you cut out video games, you have more time than you could possibly imagine. And not to knock on creatives, I am a creative myself, but if you cut out some of the time spent on music and you put it towards something else as well, you might be able to build 2 things at once. I think that's a pretty key thing. I'm not like in the same mindset creatively as I was maybe 4 years ago, but I know now that it's important to build up things that are going to sustain in the long term, in addition to music.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It's amazing how like the little and I know it's sometimes it's a sacrifice, right? It's like, oh, but I enjoy playing video games or I enjoy watching my Netflix or whatever it is.
For sure.
But with that little amount of time, and maybe you just do it once a week, maybe it's not an everyday thing, but you just designate that little bit amount of time to work on something else, to work on a new skill, to learn something, to apply something. And you'd be amazed how even an extra hour or two a week working on something could really change your life.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Yeah. My formula that I've tried to put together is like, and this is a more aggressive formula, but 10 hours a week, every week for a year is 520 hours. What
Mm-hmm.
can you do if someone gave you 520 hours to build something? What could you build with that? Probably something great.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. So with the state of the world and the way that the nation is now, what are you hoping for in 2021? Basically, like, what are your hopes and dreams for the future as we exit what might be the worst year of our lifetimes? Hopefully it doesn't get any worse than this.
Hey, this election ain't over. Let me just say
Yeah, I
that
know.
people need to strap in. This is not over yet. Trump
I
is
know.
not conceded. They are getting lawyers, but yeah. But anyways, man, 2021. I just hope we have some level of unity. I just hope that I know this may not happen. I think the world's coming to an end soon, anyways. But I hope that we could find some level of unity, Christian or non-Christian, just as a nation. I hope that, for myself and my family, we can be in a position where we can spend more time together, we can grow in Christ more, and that whatever we're doing in our house can bleed into other people's houses. And whether that's with music or with business or with anything, honestly, that's really what I'm hoping for in 2021, is that we can use this time, which a pastor friend of mine calls it a liminal space. It's like the time between the caterpillar becoming the butterfly when they're in that cocoon. I'm praying that this is just the time spent in the cocoon before we come out better off than we were before. So that's really what I'm hoping for in 2021. And, God willing, he'll guide that ship and we can arrive safely.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I just said too. It's that resilience, right? Like, all right, we made it through 2020. So like, what could the next year hold for us that we can't handle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we survived the pandemic. We survived, crazy racial tensions. We survived a crazy election cycle. We're going to be better for all of it, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
That would be the prayer. That would be the hope.
You survived what? Your son was born in 2019. I was gonna say you survived a baby being born, a new baby, sleepless nights.
I'm still not getting much sleep. My sister actually just had a baby in March, like a week or two after the lockdown started. And my parents flew out to where my sister's at, and they were supposed to be there for a month, but because of lockdown, they were there 3 months.
Oh, praise God. That's good.
So yeah, they got to spend time, and it was good that they were able to do that. But it was like they were trapped in another state for like 2 extra months when they were supposed to be. But yeah, man, it's a crazy time to be alive. We'll never forget it. Our kids will, though, which is probably a good thing. And we could just be like, that you survived like one of the craziest years of all time, and you lived through it.
Yeah,
You don't remember it.
Hopefully, they don't look back in like 2020. That was nothing.
You guys are complaining about 2020. You see what we're doing now?
I got shot yesterday. What?
In our flying cars?
Yeah.
Because we're supposed to be flying in the year 2000, according to the Jetsons.
Yeah.
But All right, man. So real quick, drop a plug. Where can people follow you, listen to your music, keep track of everything that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I appreciate Rapzilla. I appreciate you, Justin. I appreciate what you
Yeah,
guys
man.
do. And you're pushing the gospel further than anyone can imagine, man. And it's awesome to see. But you could follow me at Floodlight Forever on Instagram or WEFLF on Twitter and Facebook. Check out the album FLF, FLF. That's literally the letters FLF, FLF. And yeah, hope that you're blessed and new music on the way.
You
Reporting
got
live
my
from the
stamp.
spaceship.
You got my stamp on that album. I love that.
Appreciate
I
you.
love your stuff, man. All right, bro. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you. Talk to you later, man. Peace. What's up, bro? How you doing?
Man, cooler, man. How about you? What you got going?
We got a good show going on, man, and I'm so happy to have you on to be a part of it. I appreciate you jumping on, man. I think you're playing some 2K or something in the background.
Somebody about to take an L. I don't know who it is.
All right, man. From COVID through civil unrest, from protesting, the elections, all the madness that has happened in 2020, how have you been able to navigate through it and live and just be able to have some sense of normalcy? And how has all of this affected you?
Yeah. Well, just coming up. I mean, to be completely honest, like me and my family and like people around me, like we done been through hell already. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we know what to do when times get hard. You feel what I'm saying? Like ain't nothing really. We ready for whatever. Like I mean, prayer is not saying it's stronger than anything. Like period. Like you know what I'm saying? That's what I was raised up on. That's what my family, you know what I'm saying, put in me at a young age. You know what I'm saying? We go by that. Like, and then we just got faith. Like, you know what I'm saying, I feel like a lot of people who, you know what I'm saying, call themselves Christian, like they be saying they live and they walk it out, but they don't really be having like the real faith with it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're really gonna be a soldier for God, like you gotta be ready. You can't be scary like when stuff be going on. Like you got to know that God already got us in His arms. Like we good. You know what I'm saying? Like we are good. Like everything is written out. You feel what I'm saying? Like everything that's going on and that's happening is supposed to happen. So if you got that mindset and you always remember that, no matter what happens, you gonna know you're gonna be good. All you got to do is just have that relationship. You gotta have that relationship with God. You just can't go through the motions. You can't just. You feel what I'm saying? You gotta really be a soldier. You gotta be one of God's children for real, like for real.
Man, you came out preaching from the jump. There you go. You're giving people something. Uh, so let me ask you. Obviously, as a creative and as an artist, you're used to touring and you're used
That
to.
boy, that boy Nasir Phillips said we're good over here. Yes, sir, Ski.
So you're used to touring it and kind of just being out there as an artist, but COVID shut a lot of that stuff down. So
Yeah.
how have you been able, or I guess how have you like deflected onto other things and been able to keep busy as an artist and take care of your business?
I mean, I just been, I'm a hustler. Like, I got a family.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, ain't no excuse for me. Like, I got two little girls and a wife that I gotta take care of every single day. You know what I'm saying? So ain't no excuses. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so really, I just been trying to like dig in my bag and get more creative and find different avenues and like different streams. Know what I'm saying? Trying to get into the merch thing more and. Know what I'm saying? I'm just showing more love, like as far as like features and stuff like that. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's just all type of things that know what I'm saying? And outside of music, we working on films right now. We trying to we getting into film, not trying, but we getting into the films right now. So, know what I'm saying? We got another one coming Thanksgiving, and we got another one coming Christmas. So, know what I'm saying? We just gonna keep on rolling them.
Yeah, man, it's dope to see all the artists and all the people in the space kind of like pivot into other things and finding success in maybe,
Good.
yeah, in finding success in maybe doing things that they never would have been able to do before had none of this happened. Like they wouldn't have had the time to, or kind of the need to figure out something else to do.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. You got it. Man, that's one thing, man. Like, you got to, like I was saying earlier, you just got to be ready. Like, and then for all the artists out there, like, just don't be dependent on that music, bad man. You got to step into other things too. Like, you got to be a real boss. You got to be a real king. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm.
You can't just depend on one thing. You gotta really explore and really, you know what I'm saying, step out. You feel what I'm saying? So, for sure.
So man, with all the craziness that's happened this year, you know, from the social unrest and just different things that have affected many people within our community, do you feel like it, you know, it's been important for artists to speak about these things and use their platform as a, like, to give voice to some of what's been going on?
Yeah, as far as what, like, you talking about like politics and everything like that?
Whether it be politics or even, you know, what happened with George Floyd and how there was all that solidarity and things like that. I know, like, people like Lecrae and, you know, your Derek Miners and people like that get a ton of flack for talking about this stuff, but they're important conversations that need to be had.
Yeah, yeah, not for sure. Man, hey man, you know, a lot of folks, you know, especially like in our industry, you know, everybody got their own opinions, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna cap, like, I, I I'm Black Lives Matter, you know what I'm saying? But at,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, we all got to be right. We all got to change our heart. You feel what I'm saying? Everybody got
Mm-hmm.
something wrong with them, and at the end of the day, we all just got to, you know what I'm saying, continue to stay focused on what God got for us. This ain't about no race. You feel what I'm saying? Like, this ain't about no this ain't about no politics. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
This about, you know what I'm saying, relationship, and we all brothers and sisters, like, no matter what color we is. You feel what I'm saying? We gotta follow out the mission that we supposed to be on. All this other stuff going on, like, it's distractions. You feel what I'm saying? Like, police killing black folks killing black folks. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we gotta just, at the end of the day, focus on what God got for us, man. If everybody focus on what God got for them individually, we gonna be good, bro. Like, folk be tripping.
Yeah, man, I feel that. It's just been it's kind of cool every week. Like I said, I've just been speaking to people after people, and just hearing everybody's different opinion and how they've navigated these tough times. So I think every voice in this, like in our community, of course, kind of matters for what we're trying to accomplish at the end of the day, which is the gospel and spreading a message. So for sure, I feel that. Now you have two young daughters.
Yes.
So what's it like kind of being, and I know they're very small, but being a dad and having to
I,
navigate their lives and where they're headed. How do you feel like that responsibility and that weight as a father?
man, it definitely made me mature, and uh, I just had to grow up earlier than expected, especially
Mm-hmm.
with my first daughter. You know what I'm saying, me and my wife, we weren't married yet when we had my first daughter. So, you know what I'm saying, we weren't really stable, like, you know what I'm saying, we weren't really having stuff rolling in all the way. So it was it was hard. You know what I'm saying? So I really had to man up early and really had to take responsibility, because at the end of the day, same thing, like with me, with my mindset, it's like, ain't no excuses still. I still gotta, you know what I'm saying, take care of my family. You feel what I'm saying? So whatever I had to do, I had to take care of my family. And if I was gonna do the music thing, I had to go hard with it. And that's what I did. You feel what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And that's one thing I want to tell people too. It's like, whatever you want to do in life, like, just go with it, man. Like, consistency is everything. Like, I don't care if you suck at it or not. Like, if you keep going with it, you gonna get good over time. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you just gotta keep going and have that faith. Like, that, where that faith kick in too. You feel what I'm saying? So, I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, I mean, I just had to keep going. That's all I did. And then, when we got married, like, everything started falling into place. Like, you know what I'm saying? So,
How old are your daughters?
man, my oldest is 4, and my youngest, she's about to be 8 months.
Yeah, it's pretty close to me. I have a daughter and a son. My daughter is about to be 4,
Yeah.
and my son just turned 1 like a month or 2 ago, and
Man,
it's just, yeah. So it's crazy.
you stopping right there? How many you about to go?
No, I think that I hope that's it. I mean,
I'm
it,
about, I'm about to go about 7. I'm about to do 7 to 8.
7 or 8.
8.
You're gonna need to go platinum with every album that you drop.
Nah.
You gotta get a boy in there. You're gonna keep going, right? You gotta try to get that boy.
Coming soon. Coming soon.
Man, but I liked having a daughter first for sure, because it's a totally different gear. Like, I think having that daughter first like really taught me how to be a dad, right?
Yeah.
Because you have like this little baby. It's like a precious little girl, and you're like, man, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing. I
Yeah.
got to figure this out. Rather than having a boy who's like a mini you and it's just like, oh, let's go crazy. But that
Yeah.
girl, you got to be gentle. You got to be soft. You got to be fatherly.
For sure.
So it's so cool. And you got 2 of them.
Yeah.
So you're double ready for a boy.
Hey, man, it's past due. Like, I'm tired of being outnumbered.
Yo, I feel that. I
You know?
feel that. So what have been some of the most unique challenges in creating this year so far? Like, I know you've diversified into a lot of stuff, but like, I guess precaution wise or proximity wise, because people can't fly out, or you have social distancing and all that. So what's that been like to kind of be creative but still follow those guidelines?
Man, I don't know. I got a studio at the house. I'm always going crazy when I'm at, but I mean, I don't know. I just try to stay busy. Like, I don't be trying to limit myself. I just try to keep going with whatever I got going on. Like I said, like, I ain't just trying to stick to just not saying the music. I'm trying to branch out to other things too. So,
So, so what about, do you have any plans to sort of, I know there's a lot of initiatives going on at Reach Records with people kind of creating organizations or doing community work or doing things like that. Is that kind of in your future and in your plans?
crazy. I was just talking to my brother Scott Free today about
Dope.
something real big. And I ain't even gonna spill the beans on all of it. Y'all just gotta stay tuned. But it's definitely time for all of that. Like, we gotta start reaching back way more than we've been doing. So, you know what I'm saying, it's time for all that.
Okay, so you're not going to tell me, but what's kind of something that's like on your heart, or that you have more of like a heart or a passion for?
Man,
Think more
definitely,
awareness.
definitely the kids. Like, I mean, that's what it starts with. You know, if we put it in them at an early age, they're gonna carry it on. Like, I know, even things I not saying heard or seen as a kid, it still stuck with me to this day. So I definitely say the kids.
For sure. Uh, Man, what are your hopes and dreams coming into 2021? Like, we're leaving this crappy year behind. So what are you hoping for, praying for the next year?
Elevation. I'm trying to be a better me. I ain't trying to be like nobody else. I'm trying to be a better version of myself. And yeah, and that consists of like my relationship with God, like
Mm-hmm.
me taking care of my family, me being a better person in heart, just becoming a better me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, see, I got 2 questions in here. One is there one thing you wished you would have done differently? And that's a pretty loaded question. Person who asked it, can you like elaborate, like specifically, like concerning what? Um, Steven Solis. What up, Steve? With you having the most Atlanta-based sound in the Reach roster, what has it been like being involved with that local community from a label with artists from all over? That's a good question.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely get love, but not only in Atlanta, like different cities as well. But I mean, yeah, the love in Atlanta is definitely strong. Like, especially like when the shows start getting, you know what I'm saying, jump back up. I can't wait for them, like, because I know everybody can't wait to get back outside. So I mean, yeah, but when the shows was going on, like, it was a lot of love. Like even when I stepped out, like yeah, I got a lot of love. And then like I ain't gonna lie, it was a point in time where I ain't really thought people who was rocking with me now really rock with me until I really stepped outside and then realized everybody, you know what I'm saying, really was rocking with what I had going on. So like that even encouraged me to, you know what I'm saying, keep going and really connect with more people too. So
Yeah, man, it's almost like you're feeling like a hometown hero.
yeah.
So while we wait for some more questions, how can people, like everyone that's watching now, pray for you in this upcoming season of your life?
Man, y'all, man, keep praying for me. Don't ever stop praying for me. Don't ever think that I'm up or, you know what I'm saying, keep praying for me. Like, for real, for real. But, I mean, really, all aspects, like, just pray for my family and pray that, I don't know, just for everything. Like, I mean, shoot, pray for your family. That's what I want y'all to pray. That's what I want y'all to pray for. Pray for you and your family and make sure y'all good. Like, because a lot of people ain't even take care of their own family. But they praying for everybody else except for their family. You feel what I'm saying? So make sure that your relationship with God is strong. Make sure your family is strong, and then make sure others around you are strong. Because once they see your relationship with God strong, guess what? They're gonna be like, "Dang man, God doing that for him. I know He got to do it for me."
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be. Everybody got to lead by example. You feel what I'm saying? And that's it, really. And I'm gonna pray for y'all. I'm gonna keep praying for y'all. I pray for my folks.
Yeah, that's real, man. And for you, like what's been the biggest, I guess, encouragement or the biggest positive thing to come out of this year, despite, everything that's happened?
Say it one more time. What's my biggest encouragement?
What's the biggest like piece of encouragement you've taken out of this year? Like the biggest positive thing that you could take away, amongst all this stuff?
Hands down, just like the whole pandemic happening. Like it was a blessing for me because like I got close to God, close to my family, close to my kids. Like, I was down. Like I'm just sitting in the house. Like I ain't got nothing but time. So
Yeah.
I'm just making it count now. So and it's been dope. I ain't even gonna count. Like at first it was hell, but it's, you know what I'm saying, it's like dang, like I'm really learning to appreciate what I got for real, for real. So,
Yeah, man. I like, as a father, I've had this thought so many times, like, when am I ever going to have another moment where I'm just trapped at home with my two kids and my wife all the time? Like, we are spending all this family time together. Kids will get older, they'll go to school, you know, you'll go back to work and to touring and whatever you're having to do. You'll never have like that chunk of time again, probably in your life, where it's just you, your kids, and your wife just being a family all the time, like right on top of each other, just eating all your meals together and just playing. And it's crazy. So in that way, for people in our situation, as parents, it was such a blessing for sure.
so definitely.
Uh, somebody asked, what's your favorite Bible verse?
My favorite Bible verse. I ain't got no favorite Bible verse. My favorite book in the Bible is Matthew. You know what I'm saying, whenever y'all get a chance, go read the whole book of Matthew. It's gonna change your life.
Now someone's asking about your hair. This isn't something that I guess you talk about often, so I'll ask it. So when did you start your locks, and how has the lock journey been?
I started my locks when I found out my girl was pregnant. Cause I cut all my hair off. Cause I was starting dreads at first a while back, but when my girl had first told me like we was about to have, you know what I'm saying, a baby on the way, like I was like, dang, I'm just about to change it all the way up. So I went and cut all my hair off, and then just grew them right back. So
All right.
that still ain't answering the question. Huh? So my little girl, she 4, so I guess about 4 years, 4, 5.
Somebody asked, when did you become a Christian? And most importantly, maybe was there something like, was there a specific moment of like the how that
Yeah.
is like
I mean,
poignant?
I've been a quote unquote Christian all my life, but when I found my real relationship with God, it was probably like 2013.
And that's really when you started like really getting into music too, right? Like where you're at now.
I always been in the music, but yeah, like even even, you know what I'm saying, before I really got a relationship with God, I was doing CHA music. Like, but I was just, you know what I'm saying, going through the motions because that's what my parents had taught me to do. Like, you know, like, you know what I'm saying, I used to go to church just to see my friends when I was younger. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
was going, like, you know what I'm saying, to really listen. But, like, my main reason for even doing CHH was because when I was younger, like, every time, like, the rapper would come, they would bring a rapper to church and rap for us. And it would be so lame. Like, we'll be like, man, what is this, bro? Like, y'all folk tripping. So I always was looking back like, dang, bro, I know if I got up there, like, I know, like, I could connect. Cause I'm one of us. I'm one of y'all. Like, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
the first time I really got up there and really started, you know what I'm saying, doing me, man, like, it was crazy. And I fell in love with it. And I really knew that's what I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I really, and that's why I'm still sticking to the lane I'm doing. Cause like, I'm really trying to reach out and bridge, like, you know what I'm saying, bridge the gap for real. So, I mean, and then yeah, so as I just went on with that, like I just experienced life for myself, you know what I'm saying, and really realized that I can't live without God. Like I was either gonna end up dead in jail, you know. So I mean, it's either God or nothing, you know. So
So somebody asked, what's the meaning behind your name?
1K Phew. So 1K, you know what I'm saying, I'm in 1K famo. You know, that's the gang, the family, you know. Also, and Phew, that's short for nephew. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, in Atlanta, like all the OGs and all the, you know, all the older folks call the youngest nephew, you know. So I used to hang with a whole bunch of old heads, and they used to always be calling me nephew, so it kind of stuck.
Yeah, everybody think of Snoop Dogg. How Snoop Dogg calls everybody his nephew.
For sure,
Uh,
for sure.
that's what I think of as soon as I hear people calling people nephew.
Yeah, no. So,
CJ King, what up? Few's always been consistent, one of the hardest workers in the game from
yeah,
CJ King.
brother, man, I've been doing CJ King since, man, me and CJ King been doing this since the same time, bro. Like, that's my boy for real.
Yeah, I had CJ on I think a month ago or 2 months ago. I love that dude.
That's my dog.
All right, man.
Can you
Well,
see clientele? Hey, man, shout out to Jose. Somebody said, can you see clientele?
so drop some quick plugs. Where can everyone find you? What can we be expecting? Like, hit us with some details before we out of here.
I'm running for president 2024. Make sure y'all
You
vote for
versus
me.
Kanye. You versus Kanye.
For sure. Let me see. Uh, I would tell y'all the album coming next year, but I ain't gonna tell y'all the album coming next year.
Come on. Come on. All right. Where can everyone follow you at and all that stuff?
Y'all follow me at Chicken and Eggs on Instagram and Twitter, all platforms. Uh, nah, man, 1K PHEW, everywhere. Y'all keep on rocking with the kid, and yeah, got over everything.
Hey man, real quick, someone actually just dropped a real good question, and then I'll let you go.
I'm just playing. Go ahead.
Do you see yourself as a great bridge between the church and the street?
It's Sersky. That's the whole mission. That's what I even do it for. Then you just hear what I said. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, that's what we do it for real, man. Like that's the whole mission. Like we trying to do the bridge music. You know, that's what we own, bridge music.
I don't, man. Thank you so much for your time, bro. I appreciate you. I hope to see you soon, man. We maybe in 2021 sometime you get back to New York City, or I get down to Atlanta for A3C or something.
You
But
gonna I had to come down here because I ain't going up there in wintertime, boy. It's too cold up there for me. It's
Yeah,
over.
I know you South boys, it's tough in New York.
Boy, I catch a little inch of wind, boy. I'm putting my coat on. I'm putting my deepest coat on.
Well, I mean, man, the when you came to New York City last, or at least when I was there, that was during Dill's tour, and we had that snowstorm in Brooklyn when we were leaving out.
Oh
So
yeah,
you were really in the thick of like a northern snowstorm.
right. And then man Saga had a whole freestyle battle in the middle of the snow. Yeah,
That
I remember that like it was yesterday. But
was
now,
a crazy night.
man, like Rapzilla, man, y'all always been showing love since the beginning, man. So I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all rocking with it, man. Y'all family.
All right, everyone. So that was 1K Phew 23 of Community Journey Chaos. We had Thomas Iannucci, we had Floodlight Forever, and we had 1K Phew. Give Rapzilla a follow everywhere on Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube. And I'll see you next week for episode 24, where we have Kyle Peacock, co-founder of Die Daily. We have Dylan Chase, also of Die Daily, and we have Fern from Social Club Misfit. So I'm really excited about that one. And yeah, everyone be blessed. Let's see what the world looks like by next Monday with all this crazy election stuff going on. But I appreciate everyone for hanging out in the chat and for everyone giving their time. Peace.